Hello, and welcome to another edition of In the Garden with Susan. And today I have a special guest, and I have to tell you guys, she's on the phone. I thought maybe I could figure something out with Zoom or something, but I thought, well, here we go. We're just going to do it. So if she sounds a little bit in the background, it's because she's on the phone. So please excuse the recording. I don't know, technological issues, but it's really the information we're going for. So today, Tamara, maybe some of you know her, Tamara Clement. She's from Sudbury, and she had the Sudbury seed. Uh, can you tell us what the name of your company is, Tamara?
Well, it now it's Heritage Hobby Seed Art.
Yes. Yes, excellent. And your website is heritagehobbyseeds
Art.
dot.
.com.
Okay, so we'll put that information in the show notes for everyone below. And maybe can you tell us a little bit about your seed collection, because I know we're supposed to be talking about the electroculture. However, I find the seeds very exciting.
Okay, sure. So it's a pretty rare collection. A lot of it, some of it from seed vendors in Canada, and a lot of it though from seed trades. Seed trades with people all over the place. Very, very human powered seed collection.
Nice. And you have over 1,200, is that right?
I have over 1,200 that I can offer, and I probably have a couple hundred that still need to be grown out or need to have the numbers built up so I can share them, or maybe a little bit low, so I don't have them on my list. But yeah, about 1,200 that I'm offering. Yeah.
Incredible. It's amazing. And for my listeners, I really urge you to check out her seed collection on her website, because I was in there the other day and it is such an enjoyable experience, seeing all these things. But what we wanted to talk about today was electroculture. And Tamara does electroculture and she's had some results. I did some electroculture last year in the garden and I saw results, even though I started listening to some of Yannick Van Duren's, some of his videos. And sorry, Yannick, if I said your name wrong, but he is so knowledgeable. And when I started watching these videos, I realized I don't know anything. And what did I do? What I did is I took a stick. I went and got a big bamboo stick from the dollar store, and I got this copper wire and I wrapped it all up, and then I detached it was five stuck together. And so they were all going out into the heavens. And I thought, this is in the center of my garden. It's going to activate the entire garden. And maybe it did, because it was poor soil and everything did really well. And, when people would come over, they thought it was amazing. But that's what I did. So for my listeners that don't know anything about electroculture, I'm just going to quickly read what it is. And so, electroculture is a simple method of applying atmospheric free electricity to significantly increase plant growth, using basic materials like copper wire and/or magnets to vitalize the soil and increase yields by 100% to 300%. It also eliminates the need for fertilizer and pesticides. Explained that it is not electricity as we know it, but a breath of energy which stimulates and increases the fertility of the soil. So, one of my first questions that I'd like to ask you, Tamara, is basically why did you want to try? Why did you want to try electroculture, and what were your initial thoughts about it when you found out about it?
Actually, that's a really good question, because my first thought, I still remember, it was my husband told me about it, and he heard about it from some friends that we have. And my first thought was, how come I've never heard about this? Because I haven't been gardening as long as some people, but 16 years. And it was one of those gardeners that was at the library and tracking information down, and especially not having animals to add fertility to my garden that way. I was always open to ways to increase fertility naturally without, needing manure, basically. And so I thought, so I was really open to it, but I was neutral. I wasn't like hoping it's true or whatever. I thought we had the copper wire already. We didn't have to buy anything. So that allowed me to approach it with a really neutral mindset of not looking for any particular result. And we wrapped the copper wire around some saplings that were nearby that we cut down. So there really was no cost with it. And so my thought was, well, let's see what it's about. I mean, I was the main driver for me was like, I wonder why I've never sort of heard about this. And I guess if I'm really honest, I thought if this was really something, I probably would know about it, right? And so it didn't take very long before I realized there's definitely something to it. So I'm really glad actually that I started out with a really neutral mindset and I wasn't looking for any type of result. I was totally open to whatever a natural result would be.
And so it could nothing might happen, and you would have been like, "Oh, well, nothing happened." So
Yeah, tried it and didn't really work for me. So, moved on. But I'm also glad that we didn't approach it with the mentality of like, let's just try like one little bamboo stick in a pot. We did kind of go because we already had, like my husband has done a lot of wiring jobs and stuff. So we had a lot of copper wire hanging around. He had to strip the wire, but it was there. So we had an abundance of copper to work with. So we really went for the whole enchilada. We did like I think it was 14 or 15 poles we made. He even put a coil on the top. The poles were about 12 feet long, I think. I think he said 8 feet long, maybe. Um, and so we placed them so that almost there'd be coverage almost every. I have about one, two, maybe 6 gardens. So I made sure, but I kept one control area. So I kept one control area where I could see if there was a difference between that area and all the other places with the poles. So each pole did about out from the pole about 7.5 feet. So we made sure we covered pretty well everything except the eggplants, and my corn patch was half of it was covered in the electroculture field and the other half wasn't. So we did go whole hog, even though it was an experiment. We thought, well, if we're going to do it, we have the stuff, let's do it, as best we can. And so that's what we did.
so you left one area, one garden did not have any. What was in that garden that didn't have any electroculture?
My eggplants,
Oh, yes.
and half of my corn patch. So half the corn patch was in the radius of the pole, and the other half wasn't. And it was pretty clear by the end of the season that like my eggplants, and actually the year before in 2022, I did a big eggplant grow, like maybe 20 types or something, and I had like pretty good production. I collected seeds for everything, but last year it was almost a total fail. I think it was only about 3 eggplants I collected seeds from. So, and also my corn, the corn within the range of the pole, the corn stalks closest were giving me about 3 cobs for each stalk. And at the farthest end out of the range, I was getting 1 cob. And you could almost see when you looked at the top of the patch, the sort of gradation of like the taller plants were close to the pole, and the farther away you got from the pole, kind of a little bit shorter the plants got. So it was actually kind of wild to see that so visible like that.
That's incredible. So this, like what we just read about what electroculture is, you did see that like 100% to 300% increase.
I've seen huge, my tomatoes, even in the years when I had rainy years, I would get tomato plants are pretty generous anyway. Rainy years, they can be even more so, like your tomatoes can get pretty big. But the harvest from the tomatoes was insane. Even now, I had a lot of pots too, and so what I did for poles for that was I stuck in a bamboo, probably 3 or 4 foot bamboo pole in there, wrapped that with copper. And I'm not really big on adding much extra fertility. I'll put in some kelp meal, alfalfa meal, some azomite, some chicken manure. But then I try and let the plants tough it out as much as I can for the rest of the season. But so even though I probably provide my plants with lesser fertility, the amount of tomatoes that came even off the potted plants, because as you know, like pots sort of drive down production generally, they were as good as my in-ground tomatoes. Like it was crazy. It was really crazy. And my beans, I set records. Like one of the poles, 4 plants around a pole. The plants grew, 10, at least 10 feet, probably 12. I got 2